Hey guys, Chris Torrey here. Today I thought I'd take you through something I've been doing over the last week. What I've been involved in is the Big Footy official mock draft. So this is basically with the NAB League boys sort of on a month break or thereabouts. It's just basically 18 or so of us, just online draft watchers, basically going through for this year's draft who we think sort of is the best available player, I suppose, for our respective teams that we're selecting for. So from this list, so I was the selector for St Kilda. So my username, as you can see up here, is Nightmare. So in going through the picks and some of the top players, so Jason Horn, unsurprisingly, was pick one. And then you've got Nick Dacos. So for me, and I'll release a sort of power rankings, sort of tier list sort of thing over the coming weeks. My next power rankings will be on ESPN at the start of next month, and then from there I might do a tier list because I found that pretty popular last year for my YouTube audience. Yeah, so Horn and Dacos, if I was to do a tier list, I would say, and I'm not going to give away who will be my number one next month, but I would have those two as my top two and in that absolute top tier list. So I think the selectors for North Melbourne and Hawthorn did pretty well there. Going through the list, picks 3 and pick 4, for me, possibly that was a bit early. Chesser and Van Rooyen. So Chesser, you've got someone where he's someone who generates drive from defence. Van Rooyen, you've got someone where strong sort of contested marking key forward. But for me, look, that's probably a bit early at this stage. I probably wouldn't really be comfortable necessarily, although they were in my top 10 in my last month's power rankings. I'm not sure I would necessarily be willing to select them inside the top 10. There's been a few other players who have risen up my draft board, so for me, I would be tempted to say they're probably going a bit early in this draft. So, but personal opinion, of course, and it's still very early. So my selection, of course, so I'll go with number 5 first. So number 5, Tyler Sonsy, really good mid. I think there's probably a pretty good chance that he'll be top 5 in my draft board in my upcoming power rankings. So have a look out for where I've got him. But I've really liked his game also. He's someone where he's been able to really switch on, have a big quarter here and there, and he's been a pretty consistent starter. He wasn't necessarily that impressive in the AFL Academy game versus Geelong, but otherwise his start to the season's been terrific. So he deserves absolutely to be very high. My pick here was Matthew Roberts, so South Australian, prolific ball winner, but is someone where he can play both through the midfield and forward, and to a very high standard. So has the performances on the board and has a few years of that behind him. So terrific in the SANFL under-18s last year, and again, really looking good this year. So hopefully he receives some league opportunities, and I'm sure once the under-18 champs come around, I think he'll be one of those really dominant players. So he's one to watch out for. With my selection as the St Kilda recruiter for the purposes of this game, I did actually give consideration to the next 3 as it so happens. So they were the ones that I really had in that conversation and I thought would be among those who would be pretty solid selections here. So Josh Sin, he's a rebounding defender, can also go through the midfield, can really generate a lot of run from defence, so he's one to look for. Matthew Johnson, tall midfielder, has some Pendlebury-esque sort of traits to him. So in my previous rankings, he was number 3. So watch out to see if there's any movement with him. And then you've got Josh Rachel. I don't know how we pronounce all the names, but I've just seen their names on paper and watched their games. But he's been someone where he's been terrific for a few years now. 2019, he was someone where he was averaging 2 goals a game, finding a lot of the footy, wins at contested, and I really liked his game against the Geelong VFL side. So he's someone that in my review on ESPN coming up of the game, I'll be making mention of there. Jack Williams, possibly a bit earlier than I would have expected as a key forward, but he might actually be the first key forward taken. So Van Rooyen, look, it might be sort of out of those two potentially. They'll be certainly among those first key forwards selected it's looking at this stage, so 2 Western Australians. But Williams has had a really strong start to the year in the Waffle Colts, so he's someone definitely to be looking out for. You've got Draper, so good mid, good forward, athletic. Wasn't selected for the AFL Academy versus Geelong VFL side, but he did pretty well in the SA Under-18s on the weekend. So he's someone who's thereabouts. A few people have him around that 10 mark. And he was probably unlucky for my first edition to make that top 10, but at this stage for me, he's probably a 15 to 25 in my power rankings if I was to extend it out. So Hobbs, good ball winning mid, probably a bit earlier than I'd have him. Brown, he's been going pretty well in WA as well, again, possibly a bit earlier than I'd have him. I'm a big Gibcus fan, high leaping, strong marking, intercept marking sort of key defender. There's a lot there to him that really has me interested. In one of my weekly wraps going back a week or two ago, he was my sort of featured sort of player of the week, I suppose, or focus player. So I cover him off there. But yeah, if I wanted a key defender, he would be certainly my first picked. And then from there, it's sort of, I guess you could say the draft probably opens up a bit, would be how I would sort of describe where we're at. Players that stand out from here, Ned Long I find interesting. He's going pretty well both as a forward and mid, so really that sort of tall goal-kicking mid, so he's interesting. Banks is interesting with the rebound he can provide from defence, the best Tasmanian in the draft, so for those Tasmanians out there, there's some representation. You should have at least one picked in this draft, I'd be saying. He's looking the goods, so definitely watch out for him. Finn Callaghan, he's one of the more interesting players, about your 189, really good moving midfielder. Really like the way he moves. Skills seem pretty solid. If he can develop that contested side to his game to a high level, he could be a really good midfielder. That's the sort of, I guess, but at this stage with him. But certainly there have been some impressive signs with him, and I'm interested to see how he's going to develop this year. Neil Erasmus, he's someone where I really like him, and I'd take him first round any day of the week. So at this point, I would say he's a really good value pick. And whether he's playing as a forward, where he kicked 4 goals in the Waffle Colts Grand Final last year, or whether he's playing through the midfield, he's been racking it up every week. I think he's been 28 disposals or more in the Colts, and he was really good on the weekend as well against Geelong VFL. So he's definitely someone else to look out for. Conway, probably the best ruckman I'd say in this draft at this stage. Just a really good sort of, I guess, centre bounce ruckman. Gets the hit-outs, obviously, but then follows up really well, so you've got those dynamics to him. He's sort of that Brody Grundy sort of style, but not of that calibre by any means, but that style of player. So he's someone around this point I'd be pretty comfortable taking. Others that are interesting to me, at least, Rhett Bazzo, so he can play forward or back. On the weekend he was playing back, but he started the season pretty well as a forward. He's one of those, I guess, talls, possibly key position height. We'll see what he grows to by the end of the year, but he could be a possible key positioner, and I think he'll be one of the earlier ones picked there. Josh Fahey, again, don't know the pronunciations. I've just seen their names on paper, but he's someone where I've really liked the look of his game to date, and he's been playing some really good footy. So seeing what he did against Geelong VFL, just the rebound and drive from defence, really long penetrating but damaging kick. He's one of those guys where you'd absolutely have him taking the kickouts. And he's a GWS Academy player, so they can absolutely match bids, and I'm sure they will. So they'll be looking to plug him into their defence, give themselves another rebounding defender to give Lockie Ash some support into the future. So I think those two could really be quite a dynamic combination, where you've got Ash with the speed and you've got Josh Fahey with, I guess you've got the kick, so, and the super kick at that. So and he'll be my player-focused player for my weekly wrap this week on ESPN. So you've got that there, and I'll cover him in quite a bit of depth. And Mac Andrews, so he was actually another to impress in the AFL Academy game against Geelong VFL. So his last quarter in particular really stepped up and really impressed. So he wasn't playing ruck really until that last quarter, but when he went in there, he's this, I guess you could just describe him as an athletic type, still very skinny, but he played really good footy. So very competitive, outleapt the Geelong ruckman at every opportunity, but then soft hands, tapping it to the advantage of his midfielders. So there's a lot to like there, and he's pretty good below the knees, good skills, so there's a lot there. Dudley, he's interesting, very small. I think he's even sub 170, but whether he's sort of a small forward mid, he's definitely got ability. So For me, draftable. Adelaide, I think, have one in their next gen academy in him. O'Loughlin, I'll go through the next gen academy guys since they're sort of interesting because they're linked to clubs. But yeah, O'Loughlin, good rebounding defender. Again, another short type where he's not tall, he's a sub 175, but yeah, can generate a lot of drive from defense, racks it up, good ball user. So there's a lot to like there. Other names of interest, so you've got Dib, who's connected to the Collingwood Next Gen Academy, so can provide good forward pressure, a possible sort of crumbing forwards. So Collingwood, they're going to be looking to pair both Dacos with Dibs, so watch for that. And that's really why they traded out of their draft last year, knowing they've got those two coming along. But yeah, look, with Collingwood, if they're going to come second last, well, they should have probably held that pick and maybe traded it this off-season for a bit more of a profit. But you live and learn, and that's something Collingwood will get the chance to, I guess, learn from there. Hugh Jackson, he's one I really liked and I see as good value here. For me, he's a first rounder on production to date. So, yeah, in the SA under-18s, he's been 30-plus disposals every game. He's winning it contested, but he's got a great deal of class, really nice ball user. So, he's someone to definitely keep an eye out for if you're watching the SA under-18s. He's someone over the next few weeks with the bye. I'll probably watch a few of his games just to, I guess, see how he's going and really get a good look at him. But, yeah, he's someone where I'd be pretty comfortable having in my top 15s. So, that's a bit of a hint for my upcoming power rankings there. Jace Burgoyne, look, haven't seen really a lot of him yet, but yeah, look, he's someone where he's certainly got promise. Still skinny, but good skills. We'll just have to see how he develops. I need to see more of him to feel confident on where I'd rate him, but I'd say probably second to third round would be pretty appropriate. So the Collingwood recruiter here has done fine. My second pick, so Conor Mcdonald. So I was absolutely floored seeing him this late, to be completely honest with you, and he'll be very high in my upcoming power rankings. So, yeah, watch for that. But he's definitely my top 15. So, yeah, ball winning mid, but then he can go forward and really hit the scoreboard. So, he's someone where he ticks the boxes for me, where he wins a high percentage contested, finds and wins a lot of it. So, you've got all that. He's actually got good skills, good work rate. So, he ticks a lot of boxes. He's not just an inside mid who does nothing else, has no other tricks. But then he can go forward and he's kicking his goals. Like, he's had games where he had one game where he kicked 3 goals. So he hits the scoreboard. So he'll average at least a goal a game, I'd say, this year based on what we're seeing so far. So when you've got a goal kicking mid like that who wins it contested, does the things that he's doing, to me, he's a first rounder. Whether clubs see the same, look, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, McDonald's one I'm high on and I'll be tracking really closely this year. Braden Andrews, so I think he represents pretty good value here. He was in my original power rankings to open the year. I'd like to see his contested ball improve. I think he's only played the one game so far this year, but the game that I saw anyway, he just wasn't sort of winning any contested balls. So he'll need to do that to, I guess, maintain his spot in my draft boards. So that's sort of my slight hesitation there, but yeah, he's a utility. You can really play him anywhere, and he's played pretty good footy in the past, so we'll have to see how he goes this year, but the sample's pretty small at this stage. You've got Max Heath, so he's one to look out for in the mid-season draft, so that might be a name that we get. And also, sorry, Jacob Edwards I shouldn't have jumped over as well. So Jacob Edwards, is probably predicted at this stage to be the most likely to go first in the mid-season draft. So you can play him whether he's a key forward or ruck. He can do a bit of both. So he's hit the scoreboard a little bit, but then he's gone through the ruck and been pretty competitive. So, yeah, look, maybe had last season gone ahead, maybe he would have been drafted then. But of course, without that season, well, we weren't sort of aware of him. I certainly wasn't, and I'd imagine it was a pretty similar story with other recruiters. But good start to the season for Sandringham, and yeah, he's definitely a prospect. And then you've got Max Heath. So another ruckman, unlucky from Sandringham not to get drafted last year based on sort of the reviews out of the preseason previously. But yeah, he's someone where developable ruckman. He's not necessarily my preferred ruck candidate if I was picking a ruckman, but nonetheless, he's one of those certainly in the mix for the mid-season draft. So yeah, have a look out for that too. Other players of interest, so you've got Jai Sarong, so Caleb's brother. So we'll have to see how he goes this year. But obviously he's not as advanced as Caleb. It's pretty reasonable to say. Lucas Cook had a good game on the weekend, so I'll give him props there. So we'll have to see how he goes for the rest of the year. But yeah. Other names of interest that jump out at me. So I've made my selection here. So Ned Moyles. So Ruckman. So another overager. So draft eligible during the mid-season draft. And he was pretty good in the AFL Academy versus Geelong VFL match. So the AFL Academy got absolutely trounced by Geelong. But Moyle was probably among those, I could say probably 10 more competitive players where he just competed pretty well through the ruck. He's just a ruckman, probably lacks those other components, took a good contested mark. But yeah, that's roughly sort of what you're looking at there. So needs to just improve around the ground, but tall ruckman, developable. So you've got that to him. So it's about, I think he's a 205 centimetre there. And then another player I was actually considering with this same selection, so Liam Pajadsky. So for those draft watchers of the past, so Mitch Pajadsky, he was someone I was pretty high on a few years ago as a sort of tall mid who can go forward, take a mark, kick a goal. He might even be someone mid-season draft with good play in sort of the upcoming weeks. Maybe he gets a look too. But yeah, Liam, look, is a strong-bodied ruckman, pretty well developed. So and again, overages, so mid-season draft eligible. So again, there's a few of those ruckmans. So and that'll actually be a topic for my upcoming video regarding sort of the mid-season draft. So watch out for that. And another player here, probably I'll go through probably a couple more players here, but yeah, Sam Darcy. So the son of Luke. So I've got him marked as a 197, and I saw a report that he was 203 today. So I don't know what to make of that, but I'm just going to assume he's a 197, but if he is a 203, well then I would have definitely been taking him here with St Kilda's pick. But yeah, look, he's someone where he can play either key position or ruck, so you've got those options. He's played a bit of centre half back, but he has had a few sort of minor ruck minutes behind Moyle for Oakley, so that's what you're looking at there. But I look forward to sort of seeing how he develops over the rest of the season. But look, he's shown some signs where he's certainly draftable, can take a contested grab, seems to read it pretty well. So we'll have to see, but I look forward to sort of certainly seeing a lot more of him. And yeah, he's someone where, again, like a lot of these others, Moyle, Pajadsky, Darcy, I'd be willing to take them certainly earlier than the fourth round. I'd be even thinking maybe late second. That's where I'd be pretty comfortable sort of taking all these guys from. So, and the last one I'll cover as well for the purposes of this video. So Cody Racks. So yeah, he was Bulldogs Next Gen Academy last year, and yeah, he started the year pretty strongly. So he had a good game the other week, just generating a lot of drive from defense, can take intercept marks, can provide a lot of run and carries. So yeah, he's someone where mid-season draft, if you're looking for that sort of, I guess, medium defender, can intercept a bit, rebound a bit, provide a bit of run. Look, he might be someone to give a bit of consideration to as well. So yeah, hopefully that gives you guys some names for this year's draft early on. And yeah, this is a fun exercise to get around. And I've been a long time Big Footy poster, so I've got my yearly draft thread on this website. So make sure you check that out. So I can leave links to both my yearly draft thread and also this thread here too, where it goes through all our picks and we have all the selectors here. And this is my own draft thread. So people who ask me draft questions here, I just get back to, so I'll respond to everyone. And I've got all my ESPN articles so far for this year, and I've also got a link to all my YouTube videos as well. So, and then further down, I'll include, so these were my power rankings. And then later on, when I create a phantom draft, I'll do that. And I've also got links to previous threads as well for those that want to check out my work from way back when. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed my video, make sure you give it a like, and yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so, and let me know what you think about some of my selections. If you've got any questions about the draft, make sure you comment below. I'm happy to answer any questions, from whether it's who your club should draft, tell me a bit about this player, whatever it is. I'm always happy to answer any draft questions. So yeah, look forward to hopefully fielding some. But anyway, see you guys in the next video.